Hey there guys, so welcome back. In the last chapter we finished off the actual flesh areas of the upper body. In this chapter we're going to finish this off entirely by adding in a mouth bag, and from there we'll be able to start work on the trousers. So first of all, let's get started and do this mouth bag while we still have half a body here before mirroring it over. So all I've done is hidden the reference layer from the channel here, and now we're just going to select our mesh just by left clicking on it, hold down the right mouse button and select edge. Now this will put us into edge selection mode, and all we need to do here is hold down shift and click on the edges that we want to select. We want to extend a mouth bag back from these points here, so let's just go ahead and get those selected. Now what we need to do is, if we click on our options at the top here, where we click on polygons, we have the option for extruding somewhere. So we can click on the extrude button just at the top there, and now we should be able to extrude back, and this is going to follow the direction of the normals. So it actually gets wider the further back we extrude it. So that's all good. So from here we're going to click extrude again and just drag that back a little bit further. Just keep clicking on extrude once you've dragged it back a certain distance, and this is going to form our mouth bag. So clicking on it again, I'm actually going to put the mouse over the central point here and hold down the middle mouse button and drag it backwards to get a bit more of a standard direction in it. And we're going to get this point now where everything starts to overlap. So we just need to manually edit this. If we hold down right click and go to vertex selection mode, we'll then select a few of the vertices. It's going to go onto our move tool over on the left hand side, or W on the keyboard. And I need to extend these out, so I'm going to select the vertex, hold down the middle mouse button and drag them over to the side. And this is where we need to sort of widen it out, sort of towards the cheeks. Be a little bit difficult to select these vertices from certain angles. There we go. So I don't think we're going to go all out and start adding teeth and such, but it's pretty easy to do. All you need to do really is just add, sort of create a half cylinder and just drop them in as a separate object really. We might do that just to finish things off once we've done the rest of the main part. So let's just spread these out a bit more evenly. So we're getting there. Let's just take this top part of the lip. In fact, we probably should have done that with the rest of these points up here. So I'm just going to hold down shift and click on all these vertices. Hit undo when I screw it up. And we want to sort of keep the sort of flow of the lips correct. So we can actually have his mouth completely closed if we want. And we'll do the same with the flow on the opposite side as well. So let's just get that in the correct position. And we'll grab the rest of the edge and just bring them together. we'll tidy up the central vertices in a moment as well. For the time being, we just want to make sure that we've got the sort of inside of the lips, really. That's kind of what we're doing here. Got to stop missing these vertices, it's getting rather irritating. We haven't selected any others along the way, that's good. So here we're just going to bring them down. So good thing about this, it doesn't have to be the tidiest thing in the world, just as long as it creates the shapes that we want, as it's not very often you see down the mouth of a character. So it's important that we do actually put these in the first place, because if we didn't put a mouth bag in and we just left the lips how they were, when the character talked or moved their mouth, chances are you'd be able to see between the lips, and what that would do is enable you to see through the entire mesh. So you'd have this portal that in-game would allow you to see the background and things like that. I'm sure if you play video games you've sort of seen that before, when the camera gets too close to a character and it'll clip through. And you can see all the eyes and the background and stuff like that in there as well. So we want to avoid that. So we just create pretty much a sack or a bag for the mouth, which gives a definitive point at where the mesh ends, so it won't render anything outside of it. The mouth bag never gets deformed, only the lips do. So we don't have to worry too much about the polygon distribution. Really all we want to do is sort of bring the polygons to an area where we can just terminate them and bring them all together. And this is why I prefer doing stuff in ZBrush, because this is very tedious. I could have done this by now in ZBrush, but oh well. Okay, let's just shift that over, and that's going to be close enough, I think. Let's just start closing up these holes. So from here, we want to be able to extrude this edge. So if we right click and go to edge selection mode, we're going to hold down shift and set the edges along this point here, and we're going to click on extrude, and we're going to move them downwards. So from here we can go, once again, turn off extrude mode and go back to vertex selection, and from here we'll be able to select the vertices and select the move tool, move that into place. Looks like we've got a bit of a random. That's okay, looks like I may have extruded it again by accident, just by clicking the extrude button one more time than I should have done. But it'll give us something to play with, so that's not too bad. Just moving them out. And now we need to go to mesh, or is it edit mesh? And then we go to merge vertex tool. And we're just going to weld these points together. By clicking and dragging over to the points where we want to weld them. There we go. So that'll do it. It's not pretty, but it doesn't need to be. So let's just go back to our move tool and we're going to start tightening up these vertices so that the centers are actually on center for the mesh. So let's just drag a selection box around these vertices here, and any other vertices like these ones and these ones which are just on the edge. And once again we're going to go back to our 4-point view mode and zoom into our top view. And turn on the grid selection, and once again make sure that we have world selected and retain component spacing turned off by double clicking on the move tool. And just move them to the center. It seems like we've got a few which need tidying up, so let's go back to our perspective viewport and turn off the snapping at the top of the screen. And let's just move these out so that they don't clip through each other. Come on Maya, select that vert for me. There we go, let's just move this out, create a bit more of a concave appearance. Okay, so it looks like we need to sort out a few more of these verts around this area, as it's starting to look a little bit confusing. I think what I might just do here is if I switch over to face selection mode, and I'm just going to delete that face by left clicking on it and pressing backspace, or you can press delete, does the same thing. And looks like we need to tweak these vertices, so hold down right click, move over to vertex selection mode, shift this to the side, alright, so looks like we need to bring this one down. Should explain what's going on there. So let's just move that out, we'll move this out. Okay, so going to go to edge selection mode, click on this edge, and just going to extrude it out a bit, and go back to vertex selection mode, and go to edit mesh, and then merge vertex tool. And I'm going to drag that vertex down to there and that one down to here, make sure it's actually at the right point. There we go. Okay, so let's further tidy this up. Go back to our split viewport, go to our top view so we can start moving everything out into the correct positions. So with vertex selection mode on, let's just choose our move tool, and let's just move this vertex in because it doesn't need to be there. This needs to be on the center, so let's just move that in first of all a little bit. See what else we need to make sure is centralized, and let's just have a look on the perspective view. Everything else is in the right position minus that one. Select this vertex as well, and I think everything else is correct, so let's just turn on the snapping mode and middle mouse and drag that to the center, and we'll head back to perspective and everything's a little bit tidier. It's a mess anyway, but like I say, it's not an important part. It's not going to be doing any deformation, so we don't really care too much. So from here we're going to mirror everything over and create a solid mesh minus the hands. So I'm going to right click and go to object mode and select our model. We're then going to go to mesh, mirror geometry, and we're going to make sure we've got merge with the original turned off. Then we're going to press apply. Close that, head to our viewports again, And from here we're going to hold down right mouse and go to vertex selection mode. And then we're going to select all the vertices down the center. Be as accurate as I can. There we go. Head back to perspective mode, make sure I didn't miss anything along the way or pick anything up that I don't want. Okay, so that's all good. Now if we just go to edit mesh, and click on the little option button next to merge. Just going to change this to 0.05 just to increase the effect of it a little bit. Then we're going to press apply. Looks like we had a little bit of a snap where the threshold's too high and we've got this happen there. So let's just undo that. I said undo that. Thank you. 0.001 and press apply. Looks like that was neat enough. Okay, so we'll close that. Now that should have merged all these vertices together. So a quick way to tell is if we go onto normals and choose soften edge, or right click and go to object mode first of all and select our guy. Go to normals and then soften edge, and we'll be able to see if there are any hard points in the center where the vertices aren't actually merged together. So it looks pretty smooth in the center of the model, so quite happy with that so far. Let's just take a look on the inside of the mouth bag. Looks good enough. Cool. Alrighty, so we've got our guy. Let's just undo the normal, smooth normals, as we don't need that just yet. So the silhouette's all there, which is brilliant. So now we're just going to go ahead and start working on the trousers. So let's turn our reference mesh back on. And I'm going to start this off as a separate mesh really, and then we can work out how it joins together. In fact, actually no, let's do it as a single mesh. So bring our reference layer back, let's go to the modeling toolkit, let's click on our mesh here, and we just need to set the transform constraints. So let's select our mesh, go to transform constraints, other surface, polysurface 3, which is going to snap it to our reference mesh. So that is on reference mode, which is good. And then we can do quad draw, and that's going to enable us to start drawing on our polys again. Now we could activate symmetry, though to be honest I've had limited success with symmetry in Maya with the topology tool. I'm actually thinking of going back to using TopoGum because the symmetry worked brilliantly in that program. So what I'm going to do now is just move up these points, which because the trousers are actually asymmetrical, we just need to get the form just right. So I'm just going to lay out points here which are going to allow me to get sort of the lip of the trousers done. And we're going to have to do this sort of the old-fashioned way, no symmetry mode, adjust things as we go. I will show you a bit of a shortcut using primitive cylinders, which will allow us to do the legs a little bit quicker. But for now we just want to get this lip all brought out here. And we'll just start joining this together. Let's bring that down to the large folds, as these are going to be silhouettes that we want to carry through, just because they define more of the silhouette of the character. Now, I know he's going to be wearing an apron, but Like I say, the reason I did the apron separately is because I'd like it so that the character could take it off if he wanted to. There are a lot of games where details like that are being used a lot. If you ever played The Last of Us from Naughty Dog, same guys who did Uncharted and such, you remember that there are a fair few scenes where Joel and Ellie sort of take off their backpacks, and the backpacks are like obscenely detailed, like in the way that they're animated and just in general, with the folds and the fabric and such like that, and they're brilliant. So sometimes it's worth putting that effort in, and when one game does something like that, it becomes expected of another game to do it too. So let's pretend we're doing next gen stuff and we're able to do all these things very easily. So what I'm doing is I'm putting vertices around which follow the creases. I'm not going to put all the little creases in, but just the large folds, which will set the angle of a surface. So I'm just going to turn that into a triangle there. I think I'll create a triangle here as well. Put a quad in there and then hold down Control and drag that to create a triangle, and we'll put a quad there as well. So this should keep the shape of the trousers pretty well. Normal maps will definitely help enhance that. And let's see if we can get just that little bit of extra definition in there. Let's create a quad there and then convert it to a triangle, if I can actually get the right angle on it. Doesn't look like I can. No, let's just extend that over here, create this, and drag that over there. So I'm actually being quite liberal with the polygons. The whole idea really for this is that we're at that transition point between current and next gen at the moment. So if we're looking at games that are coming out, I mean we're looking at things like Prototype, Second Son, Infamous Second Son, all the latest big next gen games, Watch Dogs and things like that. But I'd also sort of like to keep this in mind for current gen consoles as well. Or, I mean, rather, I'm a PC gamer myself, but so polygons don't really have much of a problem on PC. But really, I'm just trying to keep it sort of relevant to the modelling of today's games, today's big games. So we'll see we get more and more detail in them. So I think we can just save a few polys and stretch that down to the bottom. There we go. Alrighty, so we're going to end up sort of making the belt just part of the trousers, simply because there's no need for it to be anything otherwise. We're never going to have the belt taken off or switched out for anything else. So we're just going to get the belt merged into this here. Looks like we may have a bit of an issue with this one here. Let's just move that vertex out first of all to allow us to create this quad, and then move that back into position to keep the silhouette flowing. Can be a little bit difficult on curved surfaces with slight indentations to get everything completely correct. So feel free to mess around with the vertices and then move them back into position once you've got everything to work. Let's join that up there. Alrighty, so let's get this sorted here. I think I might just redistribute these polys a little bit, just get a bit more of a curve on this area. As we've ended up with quite a large expanse, which will be flat and square. So once again, just redistribute these a little bit just to get a bit more curvature to the surface. There we go. Alrighty, that's about largely done. So just my hand cramping up some pins and needles. Often happens when doing topology. Turn the sensitivity of my mouse down a little bit. Okay, so let's just get those moved to the position of the lip of the belt. And from here, let's just go ahead and do that around the sides. Let's get that joined up. Once again, we're going to just redistribute this area here just to get a bit more rounded. It's a bit too flat around this point. Don't want that to happen. There we go. Try and get the right camera angle. So just while we're doing these tedious bits here, a little bit of a note on what to expect later on in the tutorial. Once we've got this done, we're going to be moving on to using possibly Unwrap 3D to do the UV mapping, and we'll continue on in Maya to organise those UV maps. Mostly because Unwrap 3D is actually one of the best the best UV mapping tools around. It has a really fast solver and tend to get like reduced amounts of stretching and things when I've used it before on a lot of other UVs. It's we'll see how that goes anyway, and see if we stay in Maya or whether we actually use UV unwrap. So just adding a bit of a directional flow here, so we can keep that sort of crease of the trousers there. So let's see what else we need to do. So now we're moving on to the pelvis, and this can be a little bit tricky sometimes. So let's see what we can do with this. Okay, so let's see what we're going to do here. Let's just drag a few vertices around the central point. We'll have to line these up again a little bit later on. That's okay, shouldn't be too difficult. Again, we may not use all of these points, so I'm just putting them down just to suit for now. Now for the pelvis, I'm going to do just half of the pelvis, and then we'll mirror everything over, because this is something that we want symmetrical on both sides. So I'm just going to start joining these up, if it'll behave itself. Now we're going to use some triangles in this area. So we're going to use a triangle here. So create a quad and merge that point down. So it's going to use a quad here to help change the direction. We basically want to create almost like a socket for the leg. We want to be able to follow pretty much the line of the groin, which allows to actually do the deformation of the legs pretty easily in terms of animation. It seems like we need an extra polygon in here, so let's see how we're going to do that. Let's just delete these faces, so control and click on them, and from here I think we could quite easily add in another point for an extra polygon to come in. So let's just add a triangle in this area. Let's create a quad and bring that to a point here, and that'll enable us to put in another couple of quads in this space. It's going to add an edge loop to that face that already exists and join these up. See if we can actually get these working. There's one. Just need to get one in there. So let's just make a quad that will work, and then we can weld the points up to this point. There we go. Let's join that up, and we can start carrying that around the rest of the leg here. Because we've got that extra polygon, we can sort of move these over a little bit just to add a little bit more curvature to this area. Okay, so let's start working on this leg area here. Let's put some quads there, and this is where we're going to follow it around to the back. And these are literally just guides for myself. We will have to modify them as we go. So these are basically going to go around to the buttocks. And we'll just create that ring here. So we can put a triangle in here. Just join those two together. Okay. Looks like we may need another edge loop in here somewhere. So we could go ahead and put that in there, and it'll carry on all the way through up to the arms. It's quite a long edge loop to put in, adding a lot of extra polys that we don't need. So again, a triangle would work quite well here. Let's just delete what we've got, and we can put a triangle there. There we go. So let's just merge that. Let's get a quad in there. So let's insert an edge loop around that point. And so we're going to need to use yet another temporary quad. Let's just put a temporary quad in there. Let's just make sure it joins up to the right point. Come on, Maya. There we go. And we'll merge those verts up until these, and there we go. So we've got that extra edge loop. Just keep that curvature. So we don't need this one, so just merge those down. No, we don't need that. Let's just merge them together. Move this a bit further over. There we go. So now we essentially have a socket for the leg, which we can then join on once we've made it. And let's just tidy this bit up here. Get a bit more roundedness to this point. Okay, so looks like we had a bit of an overlap going on there. That's fine. Good, good. Right, so that's pretty much the pelvis in place there. So, how are we going to mirror that over, being so it's part of the same mesh? Well, what we could do is just carry on working on one side, get down to a point of where things start to get asymmetrical, and then we could just delete half of the mesh and mirror it over again. So I think we might do that. It's going to be easier in the long run. So I'm going to show you how we can use cylinders to create the first part of the upper leg there. Let's count how many edge loops we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20 or 21. Okay. So, what we're going to do here is we're just going to turn off quad draw, and we're going to go over to polygons, and we're going to click on cylinder, and we're just going to drag out. We don't have the grid visible, so let's just go on to view and turn on, is it display, grid, there we go. And then we're just going to draw a cylinder out onto the actual grid itself. And I'm going to shrink it down. So what we can do here is if we go into the attributes editor, I can't remember where it is. I think that should be okay. Yeah, so polycylinder 1, if we just click over here. And we should be able to change the subdivisions on the axis. That's 20, it's 21. So let's just go with 20. We can also introduce an edge loop if we need to. So let's just, yeah, that's fine. Brilliant. So let's just get this to be really what we need. Let's just put these subdivisions on the height a little bit bigger. And then we're going to move this into position over the leg. So we can turn the grid off now. Don't need that. Let's turn off the snapping because that's annoying. And here, let's just adjust the scale. So adjust it up. And we're going to do now, I'm just going to move this actually out to the side, and we're just going to remove the caps from this. So if you right click and go onto face selection mode, and we're going to drag a selection over the top and then deselect these faces here. So we've selected the cap, and press backspace to delete them. Do the same at the bottom, so drag a box out, hold down control and drag a box over these ones, and we'll press backspace. And from there, we're going to go back onto our object mode and move this over to the leg. So I'm going to switch over to my 4-point viewports on here and zoom in. And from there, I'm just going to start playing with the scale so that it encompasses the entire leg. That works. We can rotate it. And just going to scale it down along this axis. Move it over a little bit further. And move it up to around just under the groin. I think we can actually turn down the subdivisions on the height. Don't need that many there. And I think that should encompass. Now it's given us our caps back. Okay, let's right click and go on to face selection mode. We'll drag a box over the top, control, drag on these, delete the cap, and do the same at the bottom. There we go. So now we're just going to use shrink wrap. So if we head into deformation and we'll click on the wrap button, let's just turn off reference mode on our base mesh. Let's go on to object mode, click on this. If we click on wrap, no, doesn't want to work. Okay. Alrighty, just me being stupid and looking in the wrong place. Let's go into modeling toolkit. We can go on to edit and we can press shrink wrap selection. Provided we have it. There we go. It'll take a little while to actually execute it. this will shrink wrap the cylinder to the mesh underneath. Still going to do a bit of tidy up on it though, but if we head back into the modelling toolkit and turn quad draw on, we'll be able to see what we've got. You can see this hasn't gone quite the way we wanted it. It's mostly there, but not quite. Let's bring this up. Obviously don't want this sliding down the back of the knee here. We've got some folds that we want to bring out. So we'll be doing the knees separately and then sort of melding them together afterwards. So let's get this joined up with the rest of our mesh we're working on. Let's turn off quad draw for now. And we've got the cylinder selected. Well, let's just turn reference back on our reference layer. Select our upper body geometry, and then we'll select our shrink wrap cylinder. If we go up to mesh and then press combine, we'll then go to edit, delete all by type and press history. I'll delete the history on the tools. Head back into modeling kit and press quad draw, and that will bring us into our quad draw mode again, where we can start joining everything up, and it actually looks quite tidy. Quite surprised it went so well. It's not too bad, it matched up fairly well. So let's go ahead and start joining these together. So we might need to put an extra edge loop in here just in case I counted wrong, which it looks like I did. So let's see what we can do with what we've got. Or we might just need to redistribute where these are laid out. So let's join that to here. You can create a triangle in there, which is fine. Let's work our way back to the points which do definitely match up. Looks like we might need an extra edge loop. So let's put one in here for now, and we can terminate that a little bit later because we just need to get this in place first of all. Oh no, we didn't need an extra edge loop, we actually needed one less. So let's just redistribute this. Join these up because this is pretty much complete. That's great, they're all solid there. Let's bring that over. Bring this one over. Let's delete that, join these up, and there we go. We have a leg attached to our pelvis. So when they did the shrink wrap, it will have automatically snapped it to vertices along the path where it's actually put down. So it's going to pick up a lot of the wrinkles anyway. We might want to go through and just manually change some of the flow to enable them to show up a bit more. But, I think that's going to be absolutely fine anyway. Most of the wrinkles are in the knee and the lower leg, so that's really where we want to focus the detail on. Yeah, I think that'll work fine. So let's sort out the symmetry on this. Everything's pretty much symmetrical up till this point, so let's do that. Let's turn off quad draw. I'm going to go on to face selection mode, and we're going to select the faces up until underneath the belt. Let's turn off the reference layer so we can see what we're doing. See, we've got a few that we don't actually need there. Let's just try that selection again. and hold down shift and click on the ones which you missed. And now what we want to do, well, let's sort out the central point as well. That's going to be important. So switch over to vertex mode. We'll select all the points to the center. We know that all the others are actually in the right place, and we don't need that. But we do need the rest of the vertices at this point. So just hold down shift, drag your selection boxes, or click on the vertices you want. So now everything up until basically the trousers is central. We want to select all the vertices which are below that area. So that'll work. Let's go into our viewport mode. We'll display the grid because we need that on. So display grid, and from here we'll turn the snap magnet on there, the grid magnet, and just move that to the center. So now these are all centralized. Head back to perspective and go to face selection mode, and we're just going to select the faces in the pelvic area and the upper leg. Make sure that's everything. Yeah, it's all good. So from here we need to mirror these polygons over, and we're going to have to create a separate mesh from it. So let's go ahead and do that. So first we need to separate this off. Just go into mesh, and then we'll press separate. No, maybe not. Right, sorry, face mode. Face selection mode, we'll select our faces. As I say, I'm still learning Maya. I know exactly how to do this in Max, but trying to stay in one program. If we go into mesh and then press extract, there we go. So now this is divided up into two parts. If we click on the legs and go to object mode, so that we can move this away now, it's a complete separate object. I think we're actually going to continue working on it that way, at least for now, but let's just mirror this. So again, into mesh, mirror geometry, and we're going to put it on the plus x axis, and we're going to press apply. It's going to mirror everything over, and you can see this is a little bit offset. So let's just undo that till the point of where it was a single mesh. Everything should have been centered, so let's just make sure of that. Let's go into our viewports and have a look from the top. Yeah, everything's centered, so it must be an option with the extract function. So let's head back into perspective. We'll go to mesh, and we'll go to the little option box next to extract, and we do have an offset there, but if we press apply, I guess we'll just have to fix it up. So let's go on to vertex selection mode. We'll select all our vertices in the center. We'll go back to our viewport, make sure we have the snapping feature turned on, and just move those to the center just to make sure. That should be set. If head back to object mode and select our leg, and from here we'll go to mesh, mirror geometry, we'll go plus X and press apply, there we go, and close that. So now that's absolutely fine. So let's merge the vertices in the center. Let's just get a central view, select all the vertices down the middle. Should have got everything. Yeah, that's good. Then we'll go into edit mesh, and we'll do merge. Click on the options box and press apply. That'll merge all the vertices together for us. You can see we need to do a few corrections around this point. So we're going to go into object mode again, select our legs, and then we'll go into our modeling toolkit and go into quad draw. Let's just turn our reference mesh back on so we can see what we're doing. Back into the toolkit, and we're just going to move these verts down Probably have to do a bit of editing. We will combine the mesh again in a little bit, but we want to bring these down so that we can match them up with the rest of the belt and join them together. Of course, it is asymmetrical at this point, so things are going to need a little bit of tweaking because we've just made something symmetrical which isn't actually symmetrical. So let's join everything back together and we can sort out the topology. So let's turn off quad draw. We'll hold down shift and click on our upper body. We'll then go to mesh and combine and go back to quad draw. And it looks like everything should match up quite well. We can merge these vertices together, I think. Let's just take a good look at what we've got going on. So let's just merge these points. A bit of a weird thing happened there. Let's merge that to here. Now we could do this with the function we've been using to stick everything together, you know, using the merge vertexes option. But being as everything's a little bit asymmetrical and it's going to be fiddly actually selecting these vertices in the first place, we might as well just go ahead, bite the bullet and do it manually. There aren't that many points to join. So all I'm doing is middle clicking on the vertices. Oops, don't want to delete everything. Middle clicking on the vertices while holding down control and merge them together. So I'm just moving the verts down, holding the middle mouse button, dragging them down. Hold down control, middle mouse button, drag up to the point we want to weld it to. If we can actually get the right vertex selected. And you can see why I don't really enjoy topology too much. It's possibly one of the most boring things in modelling to do. So we've got an extra loop in there. So we combated that on the other side by introducing a triangle a bit further up. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to put an edge loop along that side, holding down shift and clicking on the edge. And from here I'm going to create a quad and make it a triangle and then fill in that extra quad there. That'll give us a point to join this up. And we can stretch this out a little bit. Keep the curvature going well. I think we've got a little complex section here by the looks of things. Let's just drag that over. Merge that vertex up there. And we'll do the same to this point. And there we have it joined together. Yep, that's it, it's all done. So now we can fix up the topology a little bit. Smooth these out. So that's looking rather good. Let's sort out the back here. We don't need these all over the place, especially over on this side. So let's go ahead and start following through on these rather important wrinkles here. Now, obviously the knees need to flex. However, we're going to have enough vertices in this, enough edge loops in this area to give a smooth deformation anyway. Just because of the amount of wrinkles that we're going to be putting in. So I'm going to start terminating a few edge loops where possible, because we've got plenty of them. Not bad, let's get that in there and make that a triangle. Looks like we have a bit of a missing silhouette there. We've got a massive part of a wrinkle sticking through the mesh. So let's see if we can take care of that. Just change a few of the edge loops to enhance that shape. It's going to follow that. Can put that up to a triangle. So this is the tricky part, is getting everything to match up with the large wrinkles, because these are forms that we do actually want geometry for, rather than relying on normal maps. Obviously normal maps will enhance them, but we need the geometry there anyway, so let's pop them in. Okay, that's not great. Need a few more edge loops. Let's just delete those areas here. And let's just keep the shape a bit more. Come on, let me get that vert, please. No. There we go. So it's going to follow that wrinkle. You can see that the silhouette is still there when you go around it, which is exactly what we wanted. And now we should be able to keep this quite tidy as we go a little bit further around. We just want to keep the peaks and valleys around these wrinkles, so that's going up to a peak essentially, and then it'll come down to a valley right there. Let's see if we can start tying these off. Remember, don't be afraid of triangles. Don't be afraid to put them in if it's going to help out tidy up some of the edges. And keep the flow of the mesh working. It's the main thing we want to do here. Just get the flow going. Eventually we want to start pulling this back to more of a lateral, less spiraling kind of thing going on. More joining dots. Don't know why I put that one down, we don't need it. Just create a triangle there, and we'll bring this spiral to an end because I hate spirals, they create a lot of problems a bit further down the line. But we should have enough deformation ability there when it comes to rigging and animation. As I say, I'm not going to be doing rigging and animation in this tutorial because it's not something I'm very good at, and it's not something I've focused a lot on over the years. Okay, we're getting there. It's a slow process putting in all these wrinkles, but we're getting there. Let's see if I can actually create this edge loop which will go all around. So I'm just going to see if I can continue this around the back so I can join it in with the current ones which I'm putting down here, just so I can avoid getting into any spirals, so it can be a pain when it comes to weight painting for animators and riggers. But being as though that's the only area of deformation now, we can just focus on keeping the silhouette nice and accurate for us now. Of course, keeping things tidy isn't just for the riggers and animators' benefit. It's we're going to be UV mapping this, so we need to be able to easily select edge loops to create cuts and slices to start dividing our shells up. So it benefits everyone involved. So let's see if we can just bring this out to a bit of a flatter area. I'm going to create a triangle there just so I can create the change in direction without too much effort. And we can start flattening out the topology here now as well. Start bringing things around to merge up in one continuous loop. Make a triangle there, and we can just create a strip here. And then we can just Keep that flows nice and accurate. Going to create a quad there and bring that to a triangle. Down here we can meet it up with the boots. And let's just start bringing this to a tidy conclusion for this leg. If you want to start bringing some points to triangles as well, just to terminate some of the edge loops, then now's a good place to do it. We won't be having any deformations in this area, so triangles are a-okay. Not that it really matters having triangles in areas which do have deformations happen, it's just I found it a lot easier to weight paint with quads rather than triangles, but as they gave a bit more of a more predictable result. But anyone who's decent at rigging is more than likely going to do a better job than me, so they'd probably be able to get around triangles very easily. There we go, so that's the leg done. Pretty tidy. Got enough edge loops around the knee to be able to crunch that up. All good. Right, so now the left leg. This one should be a bit easier. He says, taking a look at it, I'm not quite so sure anymore. Right, let's go about getting these wrinkles in. Just gonna pop the shapes in. Again, these are vertices which we may or may not use. We might collapse them down, might get rid of them completely, etc. The main thing is I just want to start getting something in so I can start working with it. So it keeps the silhouette quite nice, follows the curve of the wrinkles, and here we should be able to just bring this up. And bring this to a triangle, just to merge everything up there. We'll have a triangle coming from that point. Let's just get rid of that for now, we don't need it. Oops. Let's just join that up, make a quad, hold down control, middle click and drag. And this is going to be a point where I want to bring an edge loop to an end there, I think, by the looks of it. Oops, just wanted to join that up, not create an edge loop. So I'm just going to, if I can actually get a decent camera angle to do it at, make a triangle there. I can make a quad here, and I'm just going to create a point to terminate this. There we go. So it's a little bit tidier than the opposite side of the leg, just because the wrinkles are a little bit easier to follow. And I've kind of got into the swing of things now, so that always helps. Still doing the same thing, just following the shape of the wrinkles. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to start getting a spiral in there, so let's just cut that off. Let's make that a triangle. And let's see if we can start joining this up around the back now. Looks like we can just carry on with a quad on this bit, so let's just delete that face and quad that up, and bring this around and join it at the back. We'll make that a triangle, and we'll just bring this around, and once again bring that to a triangle as well. Okay, let's see if we can just get this wrinkle in. This would be a good point to terminate some of the edge loops. So let's get that terminating here. Not the best place to do that. Let's bring that around. Okay. So I think we'll put a triangle in here and carry this around to the front and join that up with a quad. And we'll also just carry on this shape around. Let's put a change of direction in there. And this is where I want to start bringing it around to more of a stable lateral sort of ring of edge loops. So they meet up around the front and carry on around the back. And we'll deal with that wrinkle here. It's not what I wanted to do. I going to put a quad. Doesn't look like it's going to let me, so I'm just going to make a fake quad there, and oops, no, that works. And we can quad that up here and carry on that around. Okay, so nearly there. It's got sort of the last part of the wrinkles to do, and let's just go ahead and get the main bulk of this shape in. Looks like I'm going to have to bring that up around the back. Quite a large area with not a lot going on, so we're all fine with that. Let's just create a triangle here so we can continue this shape on round. Just merge that to that one. And here's quite a complicated area. We don't really want all of these wrinkles showing up as actual geometry. The normal maps will take care of that. As long as we've got a surface to project the normals onto, that's the main thing. Like I can get rid of that triangle and I can put a quad in there. And finally, last little bit, the last little peak of this this wrinkle here. So we'll have to put a triangle there just to keep the shape of that. And that'll carry on around the back. And let's just bring that to the boots, and then we're sorted. See the last two in, and there we go, we've got the trousers done. Right, let's see what we've got. Let's just go to the modeling toolkit and turn off quad draw. Let's go to our layer editor and turn off the reference. Now you can see we've got the smooth normals on this area, so let's just go ahead and soften the normals. Just select the mesh, go to normals, and then soften edge. So we've got a little bit of a weird thing going on down here. So we may have a flipped face or something. So that's, yeah, we've got no face in there. Let's go ahead and fix that. We could go ahead and extrude an edge and then weld it down, or we can go into the modeling toolkit and go to quad draw and then just fill this in right there. Just hold down shift and it's not going to work for us. Let's turn the reference layer back on, and looks like we've got a right, this is a quad right here, so let's merge that point down to here, then stick the quad in there, turn off the reference, and there we go, that's not see-through anymore. Still need to soften the edge. There we go. And there we have it. We have our head, we have our body, we have our trousers, we have our belt, and we'll be moving on to the boots. So I think I'm going to call this tutorial here, as it's gone on for a little while. Take a quick break, have a drink, and then we'll come back and we'll finish off the boots, and that'll be the entire upper body sorted. We'll get the gloves done. Yeah, I think that's a decent enough job. It's fairly tidy. We've got a nice silhouette there for the trousers and the wrinkles. Brilliant. Okay guys, well come and join me in the next chapter. We'll finish off this upper body entirely. We'll get the gloves and the boots done, and then the rest should be pretty straightforward and easy from there. So have a good day guys, and take care.